How's it, Erika? How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Thanks, and you?
Good, good. Thank you for being here with me today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, tell me about how you came to enjoy Westerns.
Grew up watching a lot of Westerns, Zorro, Magnificent Seven, Chamber of Commerce of Wild Side. And yeah, just always loved Westerns and then got into reading Westerns. I started reading Louis L'Amour. And yeah, the Sackets are just awesome. They hooked me in, and that was that. I just grew to love Westerns. There's just something awesome about a guy riding, and I know they're the tropes and it's the standard, but
Yeah,
everybody likes it for a reason. They're kind of the knights of the USA. You
right.
ride in, you're out there to do good, you're selfless, you see bad guys, there's injustice in the world.
Yeah,
There might be a damsel in distress, or maybe a farmer or some homesteaders, people getting bullied, and they just go and they right the wrongs, and then they ride off into the sunset. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, very cool. So tell me a little bit about each of your Western series.
Okay, so they're three distinct series. There's the whole universe is called Blood on the Range. It's one shared universe.
Hmm.
Um, Huge fan of NCIS and Marvel Avengers. So I think that comes through a little bit with the team ups and the crossover. And yeah, Blood on the Range is about Nate Todd. You're looking at the 1880s there, and he's this down on his luck cowboy who's panning for gold, falls for a girl, and then gets roped into this huge range war. So yeah, so Nate Todd gets roped into this huge range war, and he's done a lot in his time. He was orphaned young, been a lawman and ridden stage, shotgun and stagecoaches and being a cowboy, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And what he really wants to do is start a family, start his own spread. So he gets roped in, and he's got quite a temper on him. And yeah, he gets himself into trouble, and he needs his friends to get him out of it. But he also rescues them. And then Bridget O'Connell, I wanted quite a strong female lead. So she sees him in trouble, and she doesn't run off screaming or faint or anything. She goes and gets her daddy's shotgun and just starts blasting away. So yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that would appeal to a lot of women nowadays, having a strong female lead there.
Right.
And then um, in the sequel, they end up, things go right. They get together, and in the sequel, they're driving cattle to Bakersfield, and these guys try to rustle the cattle and hold them up and that sort of thing, and they end up taking out the rustlers. And it turns out one of them was related to the leader of a gang. So it ends up people are after Nate, and bounty hunters are after him, and this guy called Steve Savage and his team come along. Now, Steve's a gunman, and he's got a martial artist, a guy from China who came looking for his cousin and ended up staying, so he knows kung fu. This is where the Avengers side of things comes in. And then there's a British guy called Xavier, and he's just this crazy scientist who's got all sorts of gadgets. So think of all your James Bond stuff: exploding cigars, grappling hooks, explosives, the works.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted something where you know di- different people's strengths and characters can come to the fore. I didn't want it always to be about Steve and his gun skills and that sort of thing. So when they're fist fights, Chen Li takes the lead because he just wipes the floor with multiple opponents at a time. And if there's something scientific, then Xavier Colbright can take care of things. And obviously, if there's gunplay, then you have Steve Savage. And they featured in the second Nate Todd book, and I actually enjoyed writing about the characters so much that I thought, okay, let's make a spin-off.
Right.
So back about 20 years to just after the Civil War. And yeah, there's an origin story, which is Steve Savage, bounty hunter, the beginning.
Mhm.
And from there, I just progressed. So there's an overarching plot where they're after this big bad, but each book is standalone. They're complete on their own. And
Okay.
then the third series, the final series, is about a mountain man called Jim Taylor.
Mhm.
And I wanted to tie it into the rest of the series. So I made Jim and Steve cousins. So in the first Jim Taylor book, Steve actually comes to him. It's kind of a set between the first and the second Steve Savage books. So he goes to Jim Taylor asking for help because he's after a mountain man, and he doesn't have the skills in nature to actually cope and to track this guy down. So his cousin helps him out, and yeah, it just progresses from there. So it's been good fun.
Nice. Okay, before I ask you the next question, see if you could get your video back up and see if it stays connected.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit wild.
Yeah. No, that sounds amazing. All of them sound so interesting, and I love how they're all like interconnected too. I love books like that. Any sort of like grand universe.
Yeah,
Okay.
the latest Jim Taylor, I actually had a whole big team up where Jim's in trouble and then together. So yeah,
Nice.
it was good fun to write about that, and you get different perspectives.
Right, right. What are some new projects you have in the works?
So at the moment, I'm actually converting a screenplay by Dan Searles into a novel.
That's so
So
cool.
yeah, it's been good fun. I actually want to get into writing screenplays myself and get some of my books converted into movies. So it's been a great learning experience. It's
That's
a
really
complete
cool.
different style of writing. It
Yeah,
takes,
I can imagine.
actually have to be quite creative and picture the whole movie in your head. So it's yeah, I don't know if I have the skills yet, but it's something I'd like to learn. Dan just makes it look easy, but
Oh,
he had a movie made already and then written one book.
right.
I'm busy with the sequel to that, so
Nice.
that's quite fun. And then I know he's got another movie that he's making.
Oh,
So yeah, I
wow.
hope to dip my toe into the film industry there.
Yeah, that's amazing. How did you get into writing, and have you always been a writer?
I used to write a lot of poetry back in the day. Always had it on the bucket list to write a book. So I had a bit of time at work the one day and I just started writing and I thought, okay, what am I going to write about? And I just thought, well, Louis L'Amour, let's make it a Western. That's always fun. And yeah, I just put out about 20,000 words and gave it to my twin brother and some friends to read. And they said, oh, this is good. What happens next? And I hadn't really got that far. So I kind of
Cool.
had to write. That took me about 2.5 years. That was a 108,000 word book. And yeah, I'd go away and be playing rugby or fishing or whatever for and not touch the book for 3, 4, up to 6 months, and then come back. But I learned a lot over the process, and that consistency is the key. Because if
Right,
you haven't worked on your book for a while and you come back to it, you've lost the tone of voice of the different characters and their mannerisms and how they react to a situation, even the way they talk. So
right.
that was a good learning. Also, I didn't plan the book out. I was just sort of writing as I went and seeing what happened next.
Oh,
So now I plan my books out chapter by chapter and say, okay, this is the overall story plot, and this is what's going to happen in this chapter, and this chapter, and this chapter. So I find I'm a lot quicker if I do that. I can usually get out a book of say 35 to 42,000 words in a month if I stick to that structure and actually
nice.
have a yeah.
Nice. That was one of my questions. I was going to ask you, how long does it take you to write a book? You just answered it.
It could be quicker. The writing part isn't so hard. It's planning that takes a
Okay.
bit of to give you an example, I've written, I think my best is 9,095 words in a day. So it is possible to do a whole lot. And if you
Yeah.
look at the structure of our books at DSP, that's roughly a quarter of a book.
Mhm.
So I should be able to write a book in 4 days, theoretically.
That's
But
wild.
it doesn't happen like that. Life gets in the way, and sometimes you get stuck on a point. And also, I need to research things.
Right.
So guns were around. What would be the best weapon for this situation? Even down to people's clothing,
Right.
and then the different states. What were the capitals? What cities were around back then? Towns. What was the common culture difference between a sheriff and a town marshal and a town marshal and a U.S. marshal?
Right.
So yeah, just different things like that. So
Nice.
it all takes time.
Yeah. Are there any other genres you'd like to write in besides Westerns?
I have written a fantasy book called Damon Quella.
Nice.
Yeah, that was fun. That's about a demon hunter. He's part of this big worldwide organization.
Mhm.
They travel around the world.
I think the last thing I had asked you was I don't even remember at this point.
Yeah, it was just about what inspires me to write, I think.
Right, right. Okay, yes.
You want me to go again?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I'm like I said, I'm writing to compete. I want to write a
Right.
book that everybody enjoys. I've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 star ratings on the same book. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are mid-range. So I want to write a book that everybody enjoys. I don't think it is actually possible, but I want to keep trying until I get there. And another big thing is to get into the top 100 on Westerns
Yeah.
on the Amazon list and to actually stay there. So it's part competition and partly because I just enjoy it. I like enjoy my books and say, hey, I really enjoyed this. This was fantastic. And yeah, getting feedback from the readers is great because then you can see what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and then try and take those learnings and improve. And I also see movies and TV series made of my books. I want them to be so good that people actually want to see them on the screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a competitive streak that drives me.
That's awesome, though. It'll keep you going. I have one more question for you today, and that is, what is your favorite thing about being a writer, and what's your least favorite thing about being a writer?
Favorite thing would be the flexibility and time-wise, and also seeing people give me reviews on Amazon that they enjoyed the book. And other side of the coin is people giving reviews and they're like, the story wasn't that good. And that crushes a bit. The first time I got negative reviews, I was like, oh my word, my world is ending. It's just terrible. It hit me right in my heart. And then I had a few people, like my dad said, well, don't worry about it. Other people really enjoy the books, so concentrate on those. I mean, the vast majority, I think if we look at it, I've probably got 85, 90% of people enjoying my books. So you said rather concentrate on the 90% and don't worry about the 10%. It's probably not even 10%. I think I had 2 out of like 35 people saying they didn't enjoy the book. And instead of concentrating on the other 33, those 2 people, and it's like, why? Why don't they like me? It's not why don't they like me?
Yeah, they're just picky people.
Yeah. It's just everybody's got different tastes, and you learn. When I look at myself as a writer from when I started in 2014, hell, even in 2020 to now, I can see improvement.
That's good. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. I had a blast learning about your books. Before you go, where can people find out more about you? Do you have a website, social media?
I do have a website. It's chrissmithnovels.com. And then if you look up Chris Smith author, I generally use that handle on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, even TikTok.
Good.
Which you get the lesson fun.
Nice. Wonderful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Very exciting.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erika.
You have a good one. Thank you again.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.